गिरिवरदारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरदारी यशोदनन्दन प्रजजन रञ्जन यशोदनन्दन प्रजजन रञ्जन यमुनातीरा वनचारी यमुनातीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरदा हरि जय गोपीचन वल्लभा गिरिवरदा हरि यशोदानंदन प्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन प्रजजन रंजन यमुनतीरा वनचारी यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा शील प्रभुपादा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रभु अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमती स्वामी शेषी भक्त वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। इसको संस्थापक शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रभु अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमती स्वामी भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद लघुर किशोरदास महाराज की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद शिल भक्ति ठाकुर की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नमाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वत्सादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोप श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड की गोवर्धन की जय। सिमायपुर धाम की जय। सिमंदवन धाम की जय। गंगमय की जय। मन मई की जय। भक्ति देवी की तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन पद्मा गुरुवंत की जय। स्मार्त भक्त वृंद की गौरव प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Bhagavad की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वती व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अपत्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। मोहं करोति वाचालं पंकं लभ्यते गिरिं श्रीगुरुं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरं ओम नित्यानंद स्नानाञ्जन शलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वामी रूपकथामह्यं ददाति ईश्वरपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं श्रीगुरुं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधाकृष्णपादान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितां हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। सप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुष्ठेति प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। पञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपास्मृभ्यश्च पत्तनं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, welcome you all today's Srimad Bhagavatam summary study. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 21, uh, entitled The Movement of the Sun. Before I start, uh, this chapter is basically a very, very technical chapter. It's not very easy to understand. Whatever I could understand, I've tried to present it to you. Second thing is that this chapter also requires a sort of a presentation in the form of a video or a PowerPoint or something like that. I'm not very tech savvy, and I have not seen anyone giving a class with those instruments. So whatever possible, we'll try to discuss. We take the essence. So what I'm going to do is uh, the verses are not the normal meter. It is said that these are prose meters. So the recitation of the verse also will be different. So what I will do is I will recite the first verse. I will also give an introduction from the what summary is given in the Srimad Bhagavatam book itself. And then sloka by sloka, we will read the translation, whatever is possible. We will try to take it. And there may not be much of a philosophy. Maybe one or two pastimes I will try and narrate. But there is a lot of technicality in terms of distance and yojanas and all those things. We just take it as it is and try to understand, take the essence out of this. With this, I'm starting it. Text number 1, Srisuka Uvacha, Yetavan eva bhu valayasya sanniveshah pramana lakshanato vyakyatah. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sukadeva Goswami said, My dear king, I have thus far described the diameter of the universe. 50 crores of yojanas or 4 billion miles and its general characteristics according to the emanations of learned scholars. So I've done the basic formality. I'll go through the introduction. This chapter informs us of the movements of the sun. The sun is not stationary. It is moving like other planets. The sun's movements determine the duration of night and day. When the sun travels north of the equator, it moves slowly during the day and very quickly at night, thus increasing the duration of the daytime and decreasing the duration of night. Similarly, when the sun travels south of equator, the exact opposite is true. The duration of the day decreases and the duration of night increases. When the sun enters Karkata Rashi, Cancer, and then travels to Simha Rashi, Leo, and so on through Dhanu Rashi, Sagittarius. Its course is called Dakshinayana, the southern way. And when the sun enters Makara Rashi, Capricorn, and thereafter travels through Kumbha Rashi, Aquarius, and so on through Mithuna Rashi, Gemini, its course is called Uttarayana, the northern way. When the sun is in Mesha Rashi, Aries, and Tula Rashi, the duration of day and night are equal. On Manasottara mountain are the abodes of four demigods. East of Sumeru mountain is Devadani, where King Indra lives, and south of Sumeru is Samyamani, the abode of Yamaraj, the superintendent of death. Similarly, west of Sumeru is Nimlochani, the abode of Varuna, the demigod who controls water, and north of Sumeru is Vibhavari, where the demigod of the moon lives. Sunrise, noon, sunset, and midnight occur in all these places because of the movements of the sun. Diametrically opposite the place where the sunrise takes place and the sun is seen by human eyes, the sun will be setting and passing away from human vision. Similarly, the people residing diametrically opposite the point where it is midday will be experiencing midnight. The sun rises and sets with all the other planets headed by the moon and other luminaries. The entire Kala Chakra or wheel of time is established on the wheel of the sun god's chariot. This wheel is known as Samvatsara. The seven horses pulling the chariot of the sun are known as Gayatri, Brihati, Ushnik, Jagati, Trishtup, Anushtup, and Pankti. They are harnessed by a demigod known as Arunadeva to a yoke 900,000 yojanas wide. Thus, the chariot carries Aditya Deva, the sun god. Always staying in front of the sun god and offering their prayers are 60,000 sages known as Valik Khilyas. There are 14 Gandharvas, Apsaras, and other demigods who are divided into 7 parties and who perform ritualistic activities every month to worship the super soul through the sun god according to different names. Thus, the sun god travels through the universe for a distance of 95 lakh 100,000 yojanas, which comes to 7,608,000 miles, or rather 760 crores 800,000 miles at a speed of 16.004 miles at every moment. So this is how the verse is basically very, very technical. Now, it is said that there are 7 dvipas, which includes Jambu Dvipa in this Brahmanda. Brahmanda is the universe. These dvipas basically mean island covered with water all around. And in this, the most powerful is the sun, Bharat Varsha, which is also the biggest luminary among all the planets. So the illumination of the moon are the reflections of the sun. In other words, the sun rays go to the moon, and then that is what we get it as moon rays. The light emanating from the nails of the Lord is the light of the sun. So basically, these rays are originating from the nails of the Lord and then goes to the sun planet. The sun is 9 crore miles from the earth, but still it lights up all the directions. The point is that we must take from this is that the sun is a very, very powerful entity. And if it has to give light all over the universe, I mean, this planet is one of the planets in the whole universe. There is one sun in the whole universe. So if the sun has to give light to Earth planet, which is 9 crore miles, must understand from this how powerful is the sun. So in the first sloka, basically, Sukadeva Goswami explains the diameter of the universe, which is 50 crores of yojanas or 4 billion miles. It is beyond our imagination. What to talk about us, even learned scholars can't imagine that distance. The next sloka, number 2, as a grain of wheat is divided into 2 parts, and one can estimate the size of the upper part by knowing that of the lower. So expert geographers instruct one can understand the measurement of the upper part of the universe by knowing those of the lower part. The sky between the earthly sphere and the heavenly sphere is called Antariksha or outer space. It adjoins the top of the sphere of Earth and the bottom of that of the heaven. So basically, example, an analogy is given. If you take a small grain, if you divide it into two, then by seeing one part, you can see imagine the dimensions of the other part also. Then as far as this planetary system is concerned, Earth, there is a sky between the Earth and the heavenly atmosphere, heavenly sphere, and that is called Antariksha or the outer space. So it basically joins Earth the and the bottom of that of heaven. That means Earth is on the lower side. Then above that is this Antariksha, which is an outer space, and above that is the heaven. Section number 3. In the midst of the region of outer space, that is Antariksha, is the most opulent sun, the king of all the planets that emanate heat, such as moon. By the influence of its radiation, the sun heats up the universe and maintains its proper order. It also gives light to help all living entities see. While passing towards the north, towards the south, or through the equator in accordance with the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is said to move slowly, swiftly, or moderately. According to its movements in rising above, going beneath or passing through the equator, and correspondingly coming in touch with various signs of the zodiac, headed by Makara or Capricorn, days and nights are short, long, or equal to one another. So there are some points in which we will go through. But before that, I also want to read the purport, which has got one sloka from Brahma Samhita as a reference to purpose of Bhagavad. Lord Brahma prays in the Brahma Samhita 552, Yat Chaksuresa Savita Sakala Grahanam Rajat Samasta Suramurti Rasesa Tejaha Yasyatmaya Brahmati Sampratakal Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Pachami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within a fixed orbit of eternal time. The sun is the king of all the planetary systems and has unlimited potency in heat and light. Although the sun is described as Bhagavan, the most powerful, and although it is actually the most powerful planet within the universe, it nevertheless has to carry out the order of Govinda Krishna. The sun god cannot deviate even an inch from the orbit designated to him. Therefore, in every sphere of life, the supreme order of Supreme Personality of God is carried out. The entire material nature carries out its orders. However, we foolishly see the activities of material nature without understanding the supreme order and the supreme person behind them. As confirmed Bhagavad Gita, Maya Dakshena Pakati Suyate Sacharacha. Material nature carries out the orders of the Lord, and thus everything is maintained in an orderly way. So we will understand some important points. The sun is situated in the middle of the Antariksha. I explained the last sloka what is Antariksha. And it is the hottest of all the planets. And by its radiation, it heats up and gives light to the three worlds. That means the sun gives not only light but also heat, both of them. And situated in the Antariksha means it is vertically situated above Pushkar Dvipa. Also, horizontally, the sun's chariot travels from the center of Mount Sumeru. So basically, you don't have to go to the technicalities like Mount Sumeru and some more names that will be coming. But the point is that the sun moves vertically as well as horizontally. Uh, then there are 12 star signs in the zodiac belt or the Kala Chakra. Kala Chakra is the time we will come to it a little later. But in a nutshell, this Kala Chakra is the time taken by the sun to move over half the zodiac belt, and it is called Ayana. The sun moves from east to west in the sky from our point of view. So one thing we know is that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Now this is a vision when we see straight as it is. But in relation, the sun also moves the zodiac and the other stars and the sun appears to move from Aries to Taurus and to other signs in the opposite direction. So the sun, moon, and luminaries move in a clockwise direction on a daily basis. So along with the sun, the moon and the other stars also move in a clockwise direction on a daily basis. But the reference to the time wheel, they move in a counterclockwise direction and seem to be entering different zodiacs at different times. So the sun enters into the various zodiac signs. We'll not go into the names of the zodiacs now. So the point is, when the sun moves from Capricorn to Gemini, it is called Uttarayana. That is when it moves, the sun moves very slowly. So it makes the days longer and the nights shorter. And Dakshinayana is the sun's movement Cancer to Sagittarius, during which it moves quickly during making the days shorter and the nights longer. Basically, the Uttarayana is the one that the sun moves towards the north, and Dakshinayana is the one when the sun moves towards the south. So the sun moves also at a medium speed through Aries and Libra, making the days and nights equal. So in Uttarayana, the days are longer and the nights are shorter. And in Dakshinayana, the days are shorter and the nights are longer. And there is a period in between, that is when the sun moves through a medium speed through Aries and Libra, and that time the days and nights are equal. So in Uttarayana, the days are longer, and Dakshinayana, the nights are longer. Text number 4. When the sun passes through Mesha or Aries and Tula or Libra, the durations of night and day and night are equal. When it passes through the 5 signs headed by Vrishabha, the durations of the days increases until Cancer, and then gradually decreases by half an hour each month until day and night become equal in Libra. Text number 5. Let me see if there is any point here. Text number 5. There is no purport in any of these, so I'm just reading the translation. When the sun passes through the 5 signs beginning with Vrishchika, Scorpio, and the duration of the days increases until Capricorn, and then gradually it increases month after month until day and night becomes equal in Aries. So there is no purport in any of these. Text number 6. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Until the sun travels to the south, the days grow longer, and until it travels to the north, the nights grow longer. So, like I mentioned, in Uttarayana, the days are longer, and Dakshinayana, the nights are longer. Text number 7. All the sloka are prose meters, so I'm not reading that also. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, as stated before, the learned say that the sun travels over all the sides of Manasottara mountain in a circle whose length is 95 crores, 100,000 yojanas. That comes to 760 crores, 800,000 miles. On Manasottara mountain, due east of Mount Sumeru, is a place known as Devadani, possessed by King Indra. Similarly, in the south is a place known as Samyamani, possessed by Yamaraj. In the west is a place known as Limlochani, possessed by Varuna. And in the north is a place named Vibhavari, possessed by the moon god. Sunrise, midday, sunset, and midnight occur in all those places according to specific times, thus engaging all living entities in their various occupational duties and also making them cease such duties. So, yeah, some points. The sun travels over all the sides of a mountain called Manasottara mountain in a circle. And on top of the mountain, there are residences of 4 demigods in the 4 directions. So I mentioned that the sun goes on a horizontal basis as well as on a vertical basis. So this Manasottara mountain, above that, there are residences of 4 demigods. In the east is Devadani, which is the city of Indra. In the south, there is Samyamani, which is the city of Yamaraj. In the west, there is Nimlochani, city of Varuna. And in the north, there is Vibhavari, the city of Soma. Text 8 and 9. There is no purport here also. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The living entities residing on Sumeru mountain are always very warm as at midday because for them the sun is always overhead. Although the sun moves counterclockwise facing the constellation with Sumeru mountain on its left, it also moves clockwise and appears to have the mountain on its right because it is influenced by the Dakshinabharta wind. People living in countries at points diametrically opposite to where the sun is first seen rising will see the sun setting, and if a straight line were drawn from a point where the sun is at midday, the people in countries at the opposite end of the line would be experiencing midnight. Similarly, if people residing where the sun is setting were to go to countries diametrically opposite, they would not see the sun in the same condition. So some points I can mention here. As we discussed in the beginning of the class, the sun rises in the east, and diametrically opposite is where the sun sets. So the point is that if, for example, in Bangalore, we see the sun rising in the east, uh, somewhere else the sun may be setting in the west. So we may not be able to visualize all this thing, but example is given. Like all these stars, planetary systems, all of them, they keep revolving. So somewhere they rise and somewhere they set. So wherever the sun rises, there is a light, and wherever the sun sets, there is darkness. Now, uh, Srila Prabhupada's quote is that when he went to United Kingdom, there was no sunlight at all. So, if what relevance the sun is to us, we'll discuss a little later. So it is said that wherever there is no sun, people are generally very, very lethargic and lazy. One example of our own self, uh, people say, and it's true also, those who stay in Bangalore, they see, of course, not the weather of today. So I came here to Bangalore about 30 years before. At that, not 30 years, 40 years before first time, it was like a hill station. And the weather was more or less like what you see in a hill station like Ooty or Kodaikanal or wherever. So the weather is very, very pleasant. There is no sunlight. It is very difficult. Even now in Bangalore, it's not very easy to see sun. So people are very, very lethargic when there is no sun. That is the most important point that we should take into consideration from this particular sloka. So that is how Srila Prabhupada referred to London also. So, and maybe there is a reflection of London in Bangalore. But if you see other places where the sun is visibly seen, it is said that the people are very, very active, and which is true also. Text number 10. There is a small purport in this. When the sun travels from Devadani, the residence of Indra, to Samyamani, the residence of Yamaraja, it travels 23 crore 775 lakh yojanas. That comes to 190 crore 200,000 2 lakh miles in 15 Gatikas. So, which is 6 hours. Purport Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I don't think I will read the purport because it's all basically miles and miles. Text number 11. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. From the residence of Yamaraja, the sun travels to Nimlochani, the residence of Varuna, from there to Vibhavari, the residence of the moon god, and from there again to the residence of Indra. In a similar way, the moon, along with the other stars and planets, become visible in the celestial sphere and then sets again and again, becomes invisible. The point is that there are many, many universes. I'm discussing this from the purport. Ours is the smallest universe in the entire Brahmanda, and there are many, many universes in the entire creation. And all of them have similar this thing where there is one sun and the sun keeps rotating, revolving. And in each and every universe, there is one Lord Brahma, and there are other demigods on other planets. But there is only one sun. That means in every universe, there is one sun. Text number 12. Here also, there is no purport. Translation Shilpa Path Jai. Thus, the chariot of the sun god, which is Traimaya, or worshipped by the words on Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, travels through the four residences mentioned above at a speed of 3 crore 400,000 400,800 yojana, or 27 crores 206,400 miles in a muhurta. So we'll come to this a little later. I made some points in this. Translation to the 13. Uh, the chariot of the sun god has only one wheel, which is known as Samvatsara. The 12 months are calculated to be its 12 spokes. The 6 seasons are the sections of its rim, and the 3 Chaturmasya periods are its 3-sectioned hub. One side of the axle carrying the wheel rests upon the summit of Mount Sumeru, and the other rests upon Manasotra mountain. Affixed to the outer end of the axle, the wheel continuously rotates on Manasotra mountain, like the wheel of an uh, oil pressing machine. So I have seen, let me give some points from there. Now, this chariot of sun god has only one wheel, and now one side of the axle. Now, imagine bullock cart, where there is one axle, but there are two wheels. But here, the chariot of sun god has got only one wheel, and one side of the axle rests on the summit of Mount Sumeru, and the other rests on the Manasottara mountain. And the wheel continuously rotates on Manasottara mountain like the wheel of an oil pressing machine. I've seen some of these oil pressing machines in the villages may not be present these days. So in the villages, they used to use this for extracting oil, unlike what you have drilling machine today for extracting oil. So what happens is there is a bullock which is tied to the drilling machine, and which is tied by a rope, and the bullock keeps on going around and around and around this drilling machine, and then that's how it extracts oil. This was there in the previous years, which I've seen in some of that too. Those days when I was seeing, there were nothing of them like this in the cities, but they were in the deep in the villages. This used to be used. So there is an axle, as an axle that is attached to Dhruvaloka, that is at the upper end, and lower end is bound to the first axle of the opposite to the salt water. Now, this is beyond our imagination. So there are some drawings which I could not depict. Like I mentioned, this requires some basic understanding of astrology and astronomy, both, because there are technicalities like Samvatsara and all these things. This are related to astrology, and the planetary systems comes to astronomy. Text number 15. My dear king, the carriage of the sun god's chariot is estimated to be 36 lakh yojana, that is 28 crores 800,000 miles long, and 1/4 wide, that is 900,000 yojanas, or 7 crore 200,000 miles. The chariot's horses, which are named after Gayatri and other Vedic meters, are harnessed by Arunadeva to a yoke that is also 900,000 yojanas wide. The chariot continuously carries the sun god. So there is a chariot that carries the sun god. Arunadeva is riding the chariot, though he is seated in the front. Uh, this is coming in the next purport, I think. Yeah. So there are 7 horses, it says, which are yoked to the sun god chariot. So, like in any chariot, we see sometimes a bullock or sometimes horses. Here, there are 7 horses that are tied to the chariot. Gayatri, Meter is different. Gayatri, Brihati, Ushnik, Jagati, Trishtup, Anushtup, and Panti. These names of various Vedic meters designate the seven horses that carry the sun god chariot. So we normally recite Sanskrit slokas and all these things. Similarly, there are meters for everything, and there are seven meters which are the horses for the sun god chariot. Uh, Text number 16. I'm skipping some of the distances in terms of 3.6 million yojanas and all. So although Arunadeva sits in front of the sun god and is engaged in driving the chariot and controlling the horses, he looks backward toward the sun god, which I mentioned. So Arunadeva is driving the horses, controlling the horses, but he always looks towards the sun god at the back. 17. There are 60,000 saintly persons named Vahlikilyas, each the size of a thumb, who are located in front of the sun god and who offer him eloquent prayers of glorification. So, like I mentioned, sun god is also a powerful planet. Many also worship sun god as a representation of Surya Narayana. So, actually, Surya Narayana is an incarnation of God, and sun god is supposed to be representing the Surya Narayana. Apart from that, there are 60,000 saintly persons given a name, and they are of the size of a thumb, so which we can't imagine. And they are all located in front of the Sun Lord and offer him prayers of glorification. So Sun God also is glorified by so many saintly personalities. It's about 60,000. Text number 18. Similarly, 14 other saints Gandharvas, Apsaras, Nagas, Yakshas, Rakshasas, and demigods, who are divided into groups of two, assume different names every month and continuously perform different ritualistic ceremonies to worship the Supreme Lord as the most powerful demigod, Surya Deva, who holds many names. So I mentioned about Surya Narayana. So there are other saintly personalities like Gandharvas, Apsarvas, and all these things. And there is a sloka which gives a reference from Vishnu Purana. Basically, it describes that there are many powerful Gandharvas who sing in front of sun god. The Apsaras dance before the chariot. The Nisacharas follow the chariot. The Pannagas decorate the chariot. The Yakshas guard the chariot. And the saints called the Valikilyas surround the sun god and offer prayers. So the 7 groups of 14 associates arrange the proper time for regular snow, heat, and rain throughout the universe. Text number 19, which is the last sloka. After this, I will take through some important points I got from various sources. Text number 19, translation Srila Prabhupada. My dear king, in this orbit, through Bhumandala, the sun god traverses a distance of 95 lakh 100,000 yojana, that is 760 crores, 800,000 miles, at a speed of 2,000 yojanas and 2 kroshas, that is 16,004 miles in a moment. So the sun god travels at a speed of 16,004 miles in a moment. And then thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport to 5th canto, 21st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Moment of the Sun. Now, this is what I have given from the book. I will give some points which I could gather from other sources. One is the sun is giving energy in the form of light and heat for millions of years. I mean, we may have taken birth from 20, 30, 40, 50, or some may be taking birth now. Some might have even left the bodies. But the point is that sun has been giving energy in the form of light and heat. That means sun is giving two things. That is, one is light and one is heat. And it has been going on for millions of years. It's beyond our imagination to understand. The point from the most important thing that we have to understand from this sloka is, like I mentioned, sun is a very, very powerful demigod, it's a very powerful planet. What we have to understand from this is that we must appreciate the creator of the sun, that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the next important point is that sun evaporates water from the ocean and transforms it to clouds and gives us in the form of rains. So that sun takes water from the ocean and then converts it to clouds, and then the clouds give us rain. Now, one another important point is the sun purifies all the places wherever it is by its sunshine, but the sun is not affected. So we might have seen many times, particularly many people pass stool, pass water, every in public places also. But the sun purifies all those places wherever it is by its sunshine. So the sunshine is so powerful that it can purify anyone and purify any place also. But the sun is not affected by it. The next point is that the sun is a very obedient servant of the Lord. It rises and sets on time. We can say, in fact, what time it rises and sets to for any location. Now, the sun rises at a particular time and sets also on a particular time. If we see, I don't get newspapers these days. Even those days, when the newspaper used to come, it used to mention the sunrise time, sunset time, etc. And this is possible because those who know astronomy, they calculate what time the sun will rise and what time the sun will set. And this can be given for any location, not only for a particular location. We may be here in Bangalore, somebody may be in USA, but the sunrise and sun setting time can be given by an astronomer who is well versed on the subject, and it will be perfect. The point is that sun rises on time and sets on time. Uh, when we, yeah, when we build a house, we normally put lightings in our house. So it is said that when the Lord created the universe, it was darkness all around. And then, so the Lord thought that there should be light. So, in order to light up the universe, the Lord created the sun. The next point is that the sun is the eye of the universal form of the Lord. So, in the Lord has got many forms, and all the forms of the Lord are spiritual, made of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. We know from Brahma Samhita also the Lord has got a big Lord Brahma prays Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarna Karanam. So that Satchidananda Vigraha means there is a form of the Lord. This is made of Sat, Chit, and Ananda, that is eternity, bliss, and knowledge. For a human being, it is difficult to comprehend a spiritual form of the Lord. So, because we are conditioned to see material forms, so for conditioned souls like us, or who are very, very materialistic, the Lord has given a universal form which we can imagine. This universal form, or it is also called Virat Rupa, is an imaginary form. It's not a true form, and it is applicable only for the material world. So it is said that the sun and the moon are the eyes of the Virat Rupa, or the universal form of the Lord. Uh, then the sun is the king of all the grahas and devatas. We discuss some planets and all those things. So the grahas are there, nakshatras are there. All these are luminaries, and the sun is the king of all of them. The next point is that all the vegetables and fruits that we eat are created by the heat and light of the sun. And even Brahma depends on the sun for these eatables. Without sun, there will be no grains. So the point is that we require sunlight as well as moonlight. Where there is no sunlight, it is difficult to grow vegetables or even fruits. At the same time, moonlight is also required. The sun gives light as well as heat, which is required for growth of plants. And at the same time, uh, of course, there may be some people who might uh, grow plants like bonsai and all within the house. Uh, these are all man-made, manipulated, and maneuvered creations, which are not the origin of the Lord. So the point is that sunlight is required for growth of vegetables and fruits, which through heat and light, and Moonshine is required because after sunlight, the moon gives a cooling shine to the uh, uh, plants, by which we get the grains. Otherwise, uh, without sun and moon, we cannot have any grains. So the Lord has made perfect arrangements, and this arrangement is not only in this Earth planet, but also all the way up to Brahma Loka, where Lord Brahma also he needs something to eat. So there also, without it is said the sun without sun they cannot get anything for their eatable. And one more point is that uh, the sun maintains all the living entities. We are all maintained by the sun. Uh, like I mentioned, without sun, we all will become dull, and one day we'll be like dullards only. The sun moves very fast, but there are no accidents. See, the entire planetary system, the directions of all the planets, stars, everything is clearly designed by the Lord. Now, we see when we go in our roads, when we travel, we see so many accidents. That happens because human beings have a tendency to violate the laws of the Lord, laws of the government or laws of the state, whatever it is. So that is why there are accidents. But the luminaries in the sky, the sun planet, moon planet, they all move based on the directions of the Lord. They are obedient servants of the Lord. And they all move, they don't deviate even an inch from their track. So that is why there is no accident in the universe. All the planets and all the demigods, they strictly obey the laws of the Lord. Just like when we perform karma, if we perform pious karma, we may go to heavenly planet. But if we perform impious karma, we can go to hellish planet also. That same law applies to demigods also. But we are all obedient servants of the Lord, so they don't violate the laws given by the Lord. So all them obey the Lord. Now, uh, the sun rotates around Sumeru mountain made of solid gold. So there is a mountain. There was mention about a Minosatra mountain. There is another mountain called Sumeru mountain, which is made of solid gold. Now, we might not have seen it, but we have to accept what the Shastras say. There is one point that is very important here to note that Srila Prabhupada also has mentioned in his classes that Srimad Bhagavatam gives complete detail of the, like we have mentioned about the distance and speed and all those things of the various of the sun, planet, and others, exactly which is true, and which even astronomers uh, or astrologers could not give. That is how Srimad Bhagavatam gives complete details. It is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord spoke Bhagavad Gita to sun god millions of years ago. Also, as you know, we have a creation. We also have something called annihilation. At the time of annihilation, the universe is annihilated from both sides. From the bottom, there is a uh, elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam that is mentioned that Ananta, on his heads, he bears the weight of this universe. So at the time of annihilation, there is a fire that comes out from the mouth of Lord Ananta, and that heat coming from his mouth uh, uh, will come towards the upper direction. And from the top, there is a fire from the sun, which will come to the universe. So both sides of the universe will be attacked. That is, from bottom of the universe by the fire emanating from Lord Ananta, and from the top by the fire of the sun. That is how the annihilation will take place, and the universe will be completely vanquished. Then it is said that there will be rain for hundreds of years during that time. At that time, the universe is surrounded completely by water. And again, after hundreds of years, not our time, the time of the upper planets, the universe is created again. The creation takes place again. Also, it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord spoke Bhagavad Gita to sun god millions of years ago. So we must accept that also as a fact. And Srimad Bhagavatam gives the details which scientists can't give, and we have to accept what scriptures give, which is like our mother. So the Lord is the father, scriptures are the mother, which we have many times we have heard before. Now, I mentioned before that the sun evaporates water from the ocean, and the sun gives that water to the moon. The moon takes half of that water, converts that water into soma rasa, which normally the demigods enjoy, and the other half is given as rain. That means the sun, whatever water it evaporates, it gives half that water to moon. The sun god gives the water to the moon, but half of it, the sun god converts it into soma rasa, which the demigods enjoy. It's like an intoxication beverage. Uh, we don't go into detail, but they don't. Demigod don't drink beverages like us, but it's a special beverage uh, which gives longer lifespan. And the other half of that is converted to rain. This is one point. There are two dynasties we might have read in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Sun dynasty and the Moon dynasty. Uh, uh, from the Moon dynasty, King Yayati appeared, and from the Sun dynasty, Ambrish Maharaja appeared. Now, there are some analogies which are used for sun, that is, in Srimad Bhagavatam itself, sunshine is compared to Brahman. Yeah. Now, there are three stages of realization of the Supreme Lord, which you all might have heard by now, which are Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So this Srila Prabhupada has given this analogy, compared this analogy to the sun. Now, sun has got what is called sunlight. Now, sunlight is compared to Brahman. Then, as you go further down to meditate, we see that there is a sun disk, which is compared to the Paramatma feature of the Lord. And the third stage is within the sun globe, there is someone called sun god, which is compared to Bhagavan. So, this analogy is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, which Srila Prabhupada really quotes in his classes. We also quote this, that is, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan is compared to sunshine, sun globe, and sun disk. Sorry, sun god. Another analogy that is given is that with the rising and setting of the sun, we are closer to death. This is a quote in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which we all might have read by now. With every moment, we are inching towards death. So it is mentioned in one of the slokas that with the rising and setting of the sun, we are closer to death. Also, there's a mention that the pastimes of the Lord are very much similar to the sun rising somewhere and setting somewhere. So the sun rises somewhere and sets somewhere else. So similarly, this analogy is that the Lord's pastime, some pastime may be taking place in this place, and simultaneously the pastime may be taking place somewhere else. When this pastime winds up, the Lord performs the same pastimes somewhere else in the universe. So this is how the pastimes are compared, with the sun rising somewhere and setting somewhere. And also Srimad Bhagavatam, which is also called as Bhagavat Purana, has appeared as brilliant as the sun. Now, before I conclude the class, I will discuss a few important points and some pastimes. There is a meter which I discussed. There are several meters. This we'll go into a little bit of philosophy before the pastimes, so that I can manage the time. Out of which I mentioned one is Gayatri. It is said that the Gayatri mantra refers to the oblations to the sun god. We recite Om Bhur Bhuv Swaha. That is an oblation to the sun god. And Brahmanas are supposed to recite it at the three sandhyas. That three sandhyas are morning 6 o'clock, noon 12 o'clock, and evening 6 o'clock. And somewhere it is mentioned, I'm not sure about the authenticity of this quote. And these three sandhyas are considered to be not to be very auspicious. So devotional activities are performed in these during these three sandhyas. This is a quote. I'm not sure about the source of it. The sun travels from one zodiac to another. Uh, the nakshatras. It travels from one to the other, and its cycle of traveling to 12 stars is what is called 12 months in a year. Another important point is that the pole star, which is Dhruva's planet, Dhruva Maharaj has got his planet, which is called pole star. He controls the movement of the sun. And when it, like I mentioned, when it goes upward, it is Uttarayana, and when it comes downward, it is Dakshinayana. Now, the pole star is fixed, and other stars revolve around this pole star. Some astrological names we might have heard, which is mentioned in one of the purport in this chapter itself. Gatika. Gatika is 24 minutes. If somebody has gone through Panchang, they will know this Gatika, which is 24 minutes. There are 30 Gatikas in a day. And then the other one is Yama. One Yama is 3 hours after sunrise. Okay. Now let me go through some pastimes before I close the class. In the Mahabharata, as you all might know, the Pandava, Arjuna's son Abhimanyu, was killed uh, when the Kauravas plotted what is called the Chakravyuh. So Abhimanyu was killed by a person called Jayadratha. And that day, when Arjuna came to know of it, Arjuna took a vow that he will kill this Jayadratha the very next day. And if that doesn't happen, he would give up his body. So the next day, when the battle started, you might all have heard this pastime. The Kauravas covered Jayadratha from all sides in such a way that Jayadratha is completely protected. Now, the whole day, the battle was very, very severe and very strong. Now, a point came when that day's battle, the rule of the game was that the battle will come to an end at the time of sunset. So at that time, that day when Arjuna took his vow, that was the next day, it was the sun was setting, and Arjuna could not kill Jayadratha because Jayadratha was surrounded fully by so many great warriors. So the sun actually was setting, and it became dark. So when it became dark, all the Kauravas were very, very thrilled because Jayadratha was saved. So they all thought that Arjuna would give up his body. So at that time, when they were all celebrating, Krishna actually raised the sun again. So actually, it was not a sunset, but Krishna waved his hand. Somewhere it is mentioned that Krishna waved his cloth, but by that the sun was closing. And again, when the other Kauravas were all celebrating, uh, the sun rose again. And that is how, at that time, what happened was everyone was in a celebration mood to uh, celebrate the victory that Jayadratha was saved. So they were in that mood, but then that is the time when Krishna raised the sun again, and then he asked Arjuna to kill Jayadratha, and Arjuna killed Jayadratha. Also, Krishna told Arjuna he should kill Jayadratha in such a way that the head of Jayadratha should not fall on the ground, because the condition was that if it falls on the ground, Arjuna's head would be split into pieces. So Krishna guided Arjuna that he should cut his head in such a way that he should fall on his father's lap, who was doing some meditation somewhere. So finally, the head fell into his father's lap, and his father's head split into pieces. The next pastime is that during the churning of the Mantara mountain, which is also called Samudra Manthan, the Lord appeared there as Mohini Murti. And she came in a feminine form, and she was very, very beautiful to look at. And she was so beautiful that the demons got carried away by seeing her beauty. So what happens is that the turning of the mountain took place, and from that came out what is called nectar. And that nectar she stored in a vessel, and because there was a fight, so she pacified both the demigods and the demons, asking them to sit in different sites in a row, and she would give it to them, to everyone. She also convinced the demons, saying that the bottom of the nectar in the pot is very thick, whereas the top of the nectar in the pot is very watery. So she suggested that the demigods should take the watery part, uh, and the demons should take the thick one, the bottom. So she managed to convince, and the demons got carried away by her version. So they were all sitting in the two rows. She also said that because the demigods have to take the watery portion, they have to be the first to be given the nectar, which they agreed. So when she started distributing the nectar to the demigods, two stars, two personalities called Rahu and Ketu, they came in disguise and sat in the row of demigods. So when they sat, uh, they are actually basically sun and the moon. And when they sat, both Rahu and the original sun and the moon, who as demigods, they understood that there is someone sitting in disguise. And immediately they explained this to Mohini Murthy. And they had already taken some nectar, but Mohini Murthy killed both Rahu and Ketu. So it is said that Rahu and Ketu, even today, create a disturbance and they come in the way of sun and moon. So when they come, there is a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. So this is how these are the few pastimes that I could get. Uh, with this, I close the class for the day. I have tried to give whatever possible notes I could gather on this subject. Um, so I'm closing the class a little early today, about 12 minutes. If anyone wants to ask any questions or they have got any comments, they can ask me.